I am Dr. Natalie Sharma, and I am founder and CEO of The Bean Path. I'm an expert in artificial intelligence, and I noticed, having been born and raised here in Jackson, Mississippi, that I still notice a lot of gaps as far as technology amongst our communities. I love being able to come back and show people, one, what is artificial intelligence, two, show them how they're kind of already using it, whether they know it or not, and three, showing them all the benefits of it as well as things to be concerned about. Today is one of our tech office hours that we have usually every second Saturday at a local library in Jackson, Mississippi.
So the tech office hours are completely free. We've been able to offer those coding classes where some youth come in to learn how to make beats, for instance, or older individuals who are wanting to do something different. They had the opportunity to learn how to create a website.
Today we will be learning how to use video editing software with AI taught by Dr. Natalie Sharma. And basically this is going to take a very intimidating task such as video editing and make it a lot easier and more accessible for everyone. The Bean Path has really impacted our local community in that we can take in people who sign up for our office hours, show them how to use their technology in a way that's more efficient to them. Sometimes they feel intimidated, and we show them that it's very easy to use everything, and we're here to show them how.
I've been coming to the Bean Path since I've attended the Coding Academy when Natalie Sharma first came around. To be honest, this is very inspiring. I look up to her a lot. So to see her out here, and especially down the street from where I live, to be at the library and teaching this type of technology and stuff, especially when I grew up around technology, is very exciting.
Dr. Natalie Sharma has worked tirelessly to expand the reach of technology in Mississippi, and this has directly impacted the people who live here, the economy. It has encouraged others to get involved in the tech community and to otherwise seek tech careers when they may have not thought that they could do it before.
We've hosted coding classes and also have done one-on-one teaching individuals who aren't in school, who haven't been in school in a while, those specific skills.
I hope that people come to the Bean Path Tech Office Hours and walk away with a newfound love or passion for technology and knowing how they can use it in their everyday lives, basically to make their lives a lot easier. I am Dr. Natalie Sharma, CEO and founder of the Bean Path. Last year we helped over 250 people, gave away over $8,000 in grants and scholarships, and we'd love to help you cultivate to sprout so you can determine your route. I am Dr. Natalie Sharma, and I am founder and CEO of the Bean Path. I'm an expert in artificial intelligence, and I noticed, having been born and raised here in Jackson, Mississippi, that I still notice a lot of gaps as far as technology amongst our communities. I love being able to come back and show people, one, what is artificial intelligence, two, show them how they're kind of already using it, whether they know it or not, and three, showing them all the benefits of it, as well as things to be concerned about. Today is one of our tech office hours that we have usually every second Saturday at a local library in Jackson, Mississippi.
So the tech office hours are completely free. We've been able to offer those coding classes where some youth come in to learn how to make beats, for instance, or older individuals who are wanting to do something different. They had the opportunity to learn how to create a website.
Today we will be learning how to use video editing software with AI taught by Dr. Natalie Sharma. And basically this is going to take a very intimidating task such as video editing and make it a lot easier and more accessible for everyone. The Bean Path has really impacted our local community in that we can take in people who sign up for our office hours, show them how to use their technology in a way that's more efficient to them. Sometimes they feel intimidated, and we show them that it's very easy to use everything, and we're here to show them how.
I've been coming to the Bean Path since I've attended the Coding Academy when Natalie Sharma first came around. To be honest, this is very inspiring. I look up to her a lot. So to see her out here, and especially down the street from where I live, to be at the library and teaching this type of technology and stuff, especially when I grew up around technology, is very exciting.
Dr. Natalie Sharma has worked tirelessly to expand the reach of technology in Mississippi, and this has directly impacted the people who live here, the economy. It has encouraged others to get involved in the tech community and to otherwise seek tech careers when they may have not thought that they could do it before.
We've hosted coding classes and also have done one-on-one teaching individuals who aren't in school, who haven't been in school in a while, those specific skills.
I hope that people come to the Bean Path Tech Office Hours and walk away with a newfound love or passion for technology and knowing how they can use it in their everyday lives, basically to make their lives a lot easier. I am Dr. Natalie Sharma, CEO and founder of the Bean Path. Last year we helped over 250 people, gave away over $8,000 in grants and scholarships, and we'd love to help you cultivate to sprout so you can determine your route.
I'm Theresa Kennedy, the Public Relations and Marketing Manager for here at the Bean Path, and I'd like to welcome you to our virtual tech office hours this month of June, which will be presented by one of our tech experts who volunteers with the Bean Path, Miss Natalie Sharma of the Pixtel Studio. Before I introduce her, there are three things I'd like to share with you all today. One is, if you're visiting with us for the very first time, please put a 1 in the comments to let us know this is your first time joining us. And we'd like, again, to welcome you. Second, if you have any questions, please put those in the comments as well. And we will be sure to get those answered at the end during our Q&A with our presenter, Natalie. And then thirdly, if you have not had a chance to sign up and interested in signing up for our one-on-one 20-minute appointments with our tech experts, please do so. You still have time to do that on our website at thebeanpath.org. You will be partnered with a one-on-one, one of our tech experts for about 20 minutes, and you can do that on our website. So please take time to do that if you have any additional questions after the presentation and after the Q&A. So I'll get to introducing our presenter today. Again, her name is Natalie Sharma. She is the founder and creative director of Pixtel Studio, which is a niche design studio that specializes in creating websites, brand identities, and user-face interfaces and social and scalable visual systems for industry innovators. She is a Jackson native and an honors graduate from the Mississippi University for Women, where she received her BFA in graphic design. She has more than 10 years of experience in design and design tech. And when she's not working, Natalie is very passionate about the tech community and diversity. She is a regular volunteer tech expert with the Bean Path and the founder of the local meetup group called Women of Design and Tech. Most recently, Natalie was tapped as a finalist for the ADA Lovelace Awards for the product designer category, and as a mentor, and she is also a mentor for the Innovate Mississippi's Mentor Lounge. Again, we welcome Natalie Sharma here today with us for our June Tech Office Hours. And Natalie, take it away.
All right. Hi, everybody. Thank you, Theresa, for that great introduction. My name is Natalie Sharma, and today we're going to talk about how to design an app without code. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm gonna share my screen with you guys. Let's see if this works. All right, I think everybody can see that. So we're just gonna keep on going on. Okay. My name is Natalie Sharma once again, and the title of today's session is Appy Hour, Design Your App Without Code. There's actually a very big no-code movement among apps, websites, all kind of digital platforms. So that's what we're gonna focus on today. We're broken this workshop down into 3 parts. We're gonna have a presentation real quick, talk about some basic UI, UX practices, and then we're gonna talk about 2 different ways to design an app, one with a free-form design application, and then with an app builder. All right. We're going to talk about all this. There's a picture of me, once again, founder and creative director of Pixel, founder of Women of Design and Tech. I have lots of experience in design. I've done just about everything. I've worked at a newspaper. I've been in a one-person art department, worked at a computer lab, and in an agency. Outside of work, you'll find me at any of these places. Either with Innovate Mississippi, with the Bean Path, we're here right now, with Mississippi Coding Academies, where I teach workshops on design to developers. And then sometimes, if you're lucky, you can catch me on stage performing with local theater groups, such as Center Players. Before we get in too deep, I just want to make the definition clear of UI UX. I feel like this is something that people have lots of questions about, and we maybe need to just kind of start with the basics. So what is UI UX? The UI part of this term is short for user interface. And the way to simply put this is that it's all the visual interactive elements of a product interface, including buttons, icons, spacing, typography, color schemes, and responsive design. This is actually a definition that I have found was very succinct from the Career Foundry. So basically a user interface, in short, is just, it's everything you see on your end as the user. So the UX in this term stands for user experience, and it encompasses all aspects of the end user's interaction with the company, its services, and its products. User experience was actually a term coined by Don Norman, who is a cognitive scientist and user experience architect in the late 1990s. And so basically user experience is, how does the app feel? How well does it flow? So this is kind of more of a feeling as opposed to how everything looks. So there are some best practices when it comes to creating UI UX platforms. So I'm just going to kind of give you some quick overall tips on how you can make a product that's really going to work well. So step number 1 is really set your intent. Kind of sit down and figure out, what is my app for? What is it going to do? Really plan this part out. Because if you don't know ahead of time, it's going to be a lot more difficult for you to create this app for yourself. The next step is really understanding your user. This is where you definitely have to do your homework. Research your demographic. How does your user think? How do they act? What kind of things are they drawn to? What kind of language attracts to them the most? This is something that you may have to, pound the pavement, talk to people, kind of figure out what their thoughts and feelings are. The third step is the step that everybody tries to skip, is you really have to plan ahead, kind of sit down, map out a user flow. How do they get from one screen to the next? Think really hard about what it's going to look like. And this is where I'm going to tell you, put it on a piece of paper, sketch it out. And you may say to me, well, Natalie, I can't draw. That's no excuse, because it's all squares and rectangles. You can start very simply, and which actually leads us into our next suggestion of best practices, is keep it simple. It's really tempting to go online and look at all these other apps that have a bunch of different features, but seriously, you really want to keep it simple, because if you kind of give into project bloat, where you stuff in a bunch of features in there, you're really going to have a hard time trying to make sure everything works. So start simple, make sure your core function works really, really well, and then start adding on all those other cool features such as social sharing or, you know, cool hashtags and things like that. So keep it simple. Start with your basic core functions first. And the last thing is always stay consistent. Confused users aren't going to continue to use your product, so try to be as consistent as you can with your colors and your typography and your messaging. So this is where you kind of have to keep yourself in check. So you may have to kind of create some documentation or have a Word document somewhere where you keep track of all of your different typefaces and color codes. So there are also some ideal stages to creating an app design. In the perfect world, these are the steps that you would take, and they're all pretty universal to any digital product, even websites. I follow this exact same process myself. So the first stage is research. You know, this is, like I said, this is always a step that you can't skip. You really want to dive deep, write everything out, kind of collect your thoughts. And this is actually a page of my own notes where I worked on a project myself. This is exactly what my notes look like. They're kind of all over the place. And here's kind of where I start to centralize my ideas. I'm going to mention research over and over again because it's really important. It's very vital to any kind of UI UX experience. Sketching. So remember when I talked about how it's just squares and rectangles? That's all a sketch is. You just need to kind of figure out what the screens are going to look like. These are real sketches from a real app. This app is live. It was one I created for a client. And the reason we sketch is because it's so much quicker to find out, is something going to work or not if you just draw it out. I can draw much faster than I can sit and tinker with the screen. So I really encourage you to kind of just, even if it's on a napkin, just kind of sketch out some screens. It'll make it much easier for you to kind of figure out, hey, is this layout going to work? So from there, we go from the sketch into the wireframes. Now I know mentally this is kind of a big jump, but this is where we start to make some really hard decisions from our sketches. And it's okay if we get to the wireframe stage where it looks kind of different from your sketch. So a wireframe is just kind of a general overview of how it's going to look. What kind of information is going to go here? How is this basically going to look? We don't want to get too detailed. We don't want to think about color yet. We don't want to think about icons too hard. Just kind of figure out, okay, what is the general idea of this app? So the last stage in app design is where we develop a fully fledged prototype. So a prototype is just kind of where everything kind of becomes real. You can click around the screens. We've got color. We've got some custom icons. So this is kind of like the last stage before you would, you know, either deploy the app or hand it off to a developer. So this is where everything kind of looks how it's supposed to live. So basically, these are the same steps that I take when creating any digital product ever. All right, so basically, we also need to talk about how we can design an app. And in my mind, there are two ways you can do this. The easiest way for me is a freeform designer. So a freeform designer, it's a vector-based software that allows you to build app prototypes. And so if we want to talk about what a vector is, it just means that all the shapes and the forms that you make inside this platform, they're made of math. So you can scale the images up and down. They're going to look exactly the same. They're not going to start to get kind of fuzzy around the edges. So when I say freeform, I mean you can manipulate things as much as you want. You know, because you can do just about anything you want. If I want a box over here, I can drag it over there. I can move things around until I get them to a way that I want. Some popular platforms for a freeform design app would be Figma, Sketch, or my favorite is Adobe XD. XD stands for Experience Design, and Adobe XD is actually a completely free app that you can download and use through Adobe. You don't even have to have a paid Adobe subscription. This is what I use pretty much every day to create websites, apps, and user interfaces. So for me, this is my bread and butter. So this is my favorite way to design an app. But there's also another way to make an app, and that's with an app builder or maker. And when you use an app builder or maker, you kind of skip some steps. So it's really important that you definitely, you know, go back to your basic steps of, you know, good practices, kind of set your intent, make sure you sketch things out, plan a lot. So with an app builder, this is software that's going to let you make an app usually with pre-made assets, and lets you go straight from design to a working app. So, you know, like I said, having this kind of lets you skip some steps because you're sort of working with pre-made assets already in the software. So to me, it's kind of limiting because I want to do something super custom. But if you're not a designer, you may feel comfortable with just saying, this is pretty close, let me use this as a template. You know, this does require more planning. So just make sure that you do your due diligence, do your homework, because with an app builder, you kind of have to work within the confines of the platform. You can't really do anything that custom. So here are some popular platforms that I found. App Institute is a big one, MobiCube, but the one we're going to focus on today is Appy. We're going to kind of walk through the basics of that. The caveat with an app builder or a maker, it's really hard to find a free one. You can probably get started with a little bit, or you can have a free trial, but ultimately they're gonna try to pull some money out of you. So just always keep that in mind, do your homework, and kind of find out which one works for the best of you. All right, so that's it for the presentation portion of this workshop. I'm gonna dive right into Adobe XD. So I'm gonna exit out of my presentation here. Actually, I'm gonna close out of Adobe XD so you can see what the loading screen looks like. So when I open up Adobe XD, the first thing I get is the home screen. And so this is the exact same thing that we would all get whenever we're starting a new project. And all we would have to do, say for example, if we are creating a mobile app, we would go to the device that we want to make the mobile app for. I like to just start with an iPhone X. That's pretty easy. So we'll start with iPhone X. Okay, so basically this just gives us a blank artboard, which is this right here. So basically it's just giving us a blank canvas and we can kind of get started and go ahead and go. But I've actually already kind of made a app within this platform. So I'm going to close this out and open the file that I've got. Just one second. All right, so before we get in too deep, let's kind of talk about the workspace of Adobe XD. So up at the top of the screen, we've got our different modes. So right now we're in design mode, which is where we'll create our app. Prototype mode is where we'll link our artboards together so they talk to each other. So if we click on a button on one artboard, we can go to another one just by clicking on it. And then we've got our share button where we can create links to share this online. So this is what I would do when I'm creating say for example, an app design. I would go to share and I would create a link online that I can share with my clients, and they can go to that link, see the app, they can click around, they can do stuff, and they can also make comments and give me their feedback. So let's switch back to design mode right here. On the left-hand side, we've got all of our different tools, and these are pretty basics. We've got our selection tool, a rectangle tool, a circle tool, a polygon tool, line tool, pen tool, text tool, and the artboard tool, which we would use to make new artboards. We've got the search function. And then all the way down here at the bottom, we've got some more different, I guess, modes, you could say. So right now we're in asset mode. So here are all our assets, our colors, our character styles, which is just different typefaces that we've told I want it at this size and this color. We've also got our components. A component is it's basically just a graphic that you can use over and over again. And then underneath that, we've got our different layers. So in case we kind of want to arrange things on top of each other, we can sit here and, we can drag our artboards around. We can drag our different images, shapes, and text around. So this is just to kind of help you get a more minute way of grabbing things. And all the way down here at the bottom is our plugins. And these are specialized bits of software you can install to help you do certain neat things, such as, for example, there is a lorem ipsum text filler. So say if you don't want to type anything, you can use this plugin to create a placeholder text. So basically it will just drop some text in a text box for you. So we're going to switch back to our assets. And so whenever we select anything while we're in our design mode, we will actually pull up the property inspector. So the property inspector is on the far right of the screen, and this just shows how big is our shape, what is the opacity, what is the blend mode. So say, for example, if we wanted to multiply this, we would drag it on top of something and it would have a different blend mode on top of that object. So we can change the corners, we can change the fill, border, the shadow. We can even create a background blur, so it'll make it kind of fuzzy looking. And then this mark for export option is basically just saying, when I save this project, I'm going to export this particular component into an image that I can give to a developer. All right, so I'm going to kind of show you kind of the basics of how to use Adobe XD. So you can kind of see on the right-hand side here, I have started to create an app called Milo's Coffee. So say, for example, you're a small coffee shop and you just want an app that's going to show different ways people can contact you, if they can find your different locations, they can see your menu, and they can also check their loyalty card for different points. And so what I've done here is I've actually used some UI kits that are provided free from Adobe. So if you want to go to this URL right here, go to adobe.com/products/xd/resources.html. You can actually download a free UI kit. And basically that just means it's a bunch of pre-made screens. So these are actually 2 screens that they already had from their UI kit. And I just copied and pasted these and manipulated them to make them a little bit more about what I wanted. So it's basically the same layout, but I've just kind of customized it a little bit more to my purposes. So I've made the icons a little bit bigger. I've made the colors all match. I changed the typeface. I put a profile picture. So, you know, really you can use these UI kits as a good launch point. So say, for example, if you just, you just can't get out of your own head, you just can't figure out what your layout's supposed to look like, you can go to a UI kit and you can just jump off from there. So let's kind of get into the tools just a little bit. We're going to create a login screen very quickly. So what I'm going to do is I've got this image here of coffee beans that I found. And so what I will do is drag it onto my artboard. And don't worry about if it's too big or too small. Whenever we go to look at this screen, all that excess around the edges, it won't show up. So we will actually click on the handle and hold shift to keep it proportional and make it a little bit larger. So this is just going to have the full screen. And so I actually want to make this a little bit lighter. So I'll go to my property inspector over on the right-hand side, and I'll make this just, pretty light, maybe about 26%. And I want to do that because I want to make sure that people can actually read what I put on this screen. So I've got my text here, and I can drag this text box right on top of my screen. I can use the selection tool to drag the handles around, make sure it's nice and centered. And I've got this text here that says sign in. But I like to be really specific with my text. So we can actually change this, double click on it and type in sign in below. And if you hold shift on your keyboard, you can actually snap it to different parts of the artboard. So I've also got a pre-made text box here. It's just made with the rectangle tool. Looks just like this. So we'll take this here and we'll just drag. So whenever we log in, what are the 2 things we need? We need an email. So I want to select this and I'll hold shift. So I'll select the text box and the rectangle and I will copy with Command C. And then I will paste with Command or Control V, depends on your system. So we will change enter your email to enter your password. Then we'll also add in a nice login button, so that way they can click login when they're ready. And just as a courtesy, we'll add a forget your password. So again, this is where it will really help you out. If you look at other apps, there are certain there are certain things that every app must have. So whenever you go to a login screen, there's always going to be a block for your email, block for your password, a button to log in, and there's probably going to be a little piece of text at the bottom that asks if you forgot your password. So that way you can reset your password and make sure you can log in. So we'll just put this right here. And if I want to preview what this looks like, I can select this artboard and we'll go up to the top of the screen. And we haven't talked about this part as the workspace. So up here is actually our sharing and preview tools. So if we actually want to see what this artboard looks like, we will just click play. And so there it is. There's the screen that we just made.
And we can actually see that the background is actually a little bit too dark. So what I'm going to do is exit out of this, and I'll probably lighten it up just a little bit more so we can barely see the background. So yeah, that's it as far as designing our login screen. So what we want to do now is actually make this work. So we will select this button, and we're actually going to switch over to our prototype mode. And all this is just allows us to link from one artboard to another artboard. So when we log in, we want it to go to our home screen over here. Okay, so that looks good. And so make sure you check under your property inspector, make sure it's like we want to be able to click on it. We just want a basic transition, and here's our destination. Okay, so that looks good. We'll click play. So now when we click log in, it goes right to our home screen. Isn't that cool? So from here, this is where we would start linking up all of our screens together to make a more fully fleshed out prototype. So in a perfect world, I would have a screen for our contact us page, find a Milo's coffee. So that would be just a list of our locations. We would have a see our menu page and then our loyalty card page. So that's pretty much the overview of how we, create things in Adobe XD. This is, like I said, this is a platform where I create pretty much anything, such as the app that I showed in the presentation earlier. That's exactly how I create all of my apps, my websites. Those are the exact same steps that I follow. And so to me, Adobe XD is my preferred choice. But, not everyone likes a kind of free-form design platform. Maybe they feel it's a little intimidating, or they say, well, I'm not a designer. I would just like to have some templates pre-made for me. So you're in luck though, because those things exist. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to go to Appy, and we're going to create a new app. 1 second. Let this load up. Okay. So this is in Appy. Let me actually go to appypie.com so you can see what their website looks like. So Appy, it's a no-code platform. And like I said, it kind of skips a lot of steps. So we're going to go straight from designing into a ready-to-go app that we can use. And actually, it's pretty easy to get started. So I've already made my own account. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click create a new app, and we're going to enter our business name. So let's say, for example, we have a new Milo's Coffee app. So let's say, for example, we'll enter Milo's Coffee Pro. So we'll hit next. And this is where you kind of have to, know your app, know the category. So I would say a coffee shop probably falls under restaurant and food. So we'll select that. And here's where you can kind of pick a color scheme that you like. You can pick light, you can pick dark. They all look pretty cool, but I would say I want to go with the lighter option, and I'm going to choose the dynamic sunburst. And so what this does is kind of tells it, these are kind of the basic colors that I want to set for this app. So we'll select this color scheme, and then we'll also select which device to test our app on. So I'm going to choose an iPhone because that's what I have. All right, just give it a second to load. All right, so when we get to this point, you can already see they're trying to figure out what exactly you're looking for. So this is the exact interface that you will see when you go to Appy and create an app and log in. You can still change the color theme anytime you want. It's all still there. And when we can get into further customization options, such as we can change our header, we can change a new layout, or we can also kind of figure out what we want to do for our inner pages under this page option. So let's go back to layout. So here's some pre-made options. And this is kind of what I was talking about, where if you're using an app builder, you're going to have to kind of figure out what layout works best with my idea. So let's kind of look through these layouts a little bit until we find one that looks like the one that we want. So they've kind of got, just some very basic ones here, and this just kind of shows you what they look like. So I don't really like any of these. I just want to keep it really simple. Let's see if I can find something I like. Okay, so this is the kind of one that I like. It's just got, an image at the top, and it's got some basic buttons. So let's click on that and see what happens. So on the right-hand side, you saw that it updated. This is actually a live preview of our app. So we don't have to download this yet if we don't want to. We can sit here and just kind of tinker with it until we get it exactly the way we want. But, you know, for this purposes, you know, let's just kind of walk through what it's like. So we click save and continue for our very first app. Just give it a second. So it takes about a few minutes for it to work. And so this is kind of the hard part. So if we wanted to see this app on a device for an Apple, we would have to actually go to the App Store and download the app called Test Flight. That's TESTFLIGHT. It'll show you a step-by-step installation guide on how to do that. So the quickest way to do this is that, you know, you can scan the QR code with your phone. So if I wanted to, I could scan this with my phone and it would pop up on my screen, and I would open the notification and it would show me step-by-step how to download the app Test Flight. And then from there, we will have to download the test app from Appy. And then from there, it would, you know, pull up on our phone so we can actually see it on our phone and kind of preview what it looks like. However, that's as far as a free account will take you on Appy. So you will have to activate your account, upgrade it to a regular account where you can get a 7-day free trial. So that's what I've done with mine. So let's actually go back to our main menu, and I've actually already created an app. We're going to kind of walk through how to create and update a new page. Okay, so you can see this is my listing of my apps that I made. There's one I made the other day, and then here's one I've finished up this morning. So let's go to edit. All right, so we can see in the preview here, I've kind of made this more custom. The colors and the icons kind of match the app that was in Adobe XD earlier. So what we're gonna do, I'm gonna actually walk you through this interface and show you how to make a menu page, because if you have an app for a restaurant and you don't have anything to view your menu, that's a real disconnect for your users. You really wanna kind of sit and think, okay, if I am going to a coffee shop, what do I need? I want to know, where is this coffee shop? What are my loyalty points? How can I get in touch? And most importantly, what kind of coffee can I get? So whenever we are in Appy, we've actually got two different sides. So our main side is our feature. So this is where we can add new things. So you can see we've got a contact us page, or screen, I guess is a better way to say that. So we've got a contact us screen, a loyalty card screen, and find a Milo's coffee branch. So if we click on this contact us, it will actually take us to a page where we can put in all of our information. So say, for example, for Milo's Coffee, we would have the name of our business, we would have a phone number. If we had a WhatsApp, we would put that on there. So that way we have all of our social media and contact platforms all in one spot. And so we can actually click back on the screen and go back to our home page. All right. So we can also, if we changed our mind on how we want this whole app to look at any time, we can go back and change our color theme, like I talked about earlier. We can, change our text. We can change our text type, and we can always, if we want to change the layout of the home page, we can always go back and change it. So nothing in here is forever. You can always go back and change it. And if you click on this middle option here, I know this looks like it's going to lock you out, but this is actually your essential pages. So if you wanted to set up a login and sign up screen, it's already there for you. And all you have to do is sit there and customize it. So that's a really neat thing to have. So that way you've got all of your screens pretty much all ready to go all at once. The one thing about Appy is I didn't find an easy way to update colors all over the place. So just make sure you kind of keep track of which colors you're using on your pages. All right, so let's go back to my features. And like I said, I want to add a menu page. So let's go back to our home page, and I'm going to add, what we are actually looking for under here is, so we've got our different feature types, and they're trying to kind of guess what you want. So you've got the suggested here. So it's saying, oh, you have a restaurant app, here's some things you might need. But I don't see the option that I need here. So what I need actually is an editor page. So I'm going to type in editor. And so an editor page is just, we get to type in custom things that we want. So I'm going to just type up a menu page here. So we're going to change the page name from editor page to see our menu. And we can also even customize the icon right here. So I can click and I want to show a coffee cup for our menu. So we can type in coffee and it will give us this nice coffee cup icon. And that is one nice thing about an app builder is that they've probably got all the icons that you already need. They won't be very fancy, but it'll be something, you know, very easy to find and very easy to use. So we're going to select this coffee cup, hit OK. All right, so underneath is our text editor. So whenever we type text inside of here and click outside this box, it's going to update on our screen. So what I'm going to do is create just a section for drip coffee. So we'll type in drip coffee, if I can spell today. And we'll actually bold this and we'll make the size 16, make it nice and big. And so every time I click outside this rich text editor box, it updates right here on the screen. So that's kind of nice. I like that kind of feature. So underneath that, we're going to add, you know, just a description about our coffee. So try our drip coffee, fresh roasted from bean fruit coffee beans. And bean fruit is actually a local coffee bean company. They've got great products. You should try them out. So we're going to actually make this a little bit smaller since the description. We're going to take the bold off because whenever you're using a lot of text in an app design, you really want to differentiate your different levels. So let's kind of reload the screen so it happens. Okay, so we want drip coffee to be the biggest thing on this page. So underneath that, we're going to have our small, medium, and large sizes. And we still have our italics turned on, so we're going to turn that off. And you know, you can kind of see where there's only so much customization you're going to get, but you know, it'll do good for now. So we're going to put some lead dots just to separate the type of the size and the price. So let's do 125 for a small, 175 for a medium. I don't drink drip coffee, so this could be very cheap or very expensive. Then we'll do this one more time for the large, and we'll say $2 for a large. Okay, we'll let it update. Let's make this a little bit bigger. Okay, there we go. So, you know, we can go on and add as many things as we want here. We can add different types of fraps or cappuccinos. We can add a treat menu if we want to. But the important thing is that we figured out how to add a page. So we're going to backtrack to our main menu here. So now we've got all of the same icons that we had in Adobe XDs. We've got our contact us, our loyalty card, find a Milo's coffee, and we've got our see our menu function. And so the important thing here is always make sure that you save. This is the most important part of Appy Pie, because if you don't save and you leave this right now, you will come back, all of your changes will be gone, and you'll be very sad. So we're going to save and continue. And so the function of this is this also, so when you have it downloaded onto your phone, basically it tells you, okay, we've saved all of your changes. And now on your phone, you need to restart the app for these changes to populate. So you can kind of work back and forth between your computer screen, if you like, and your phone. I like just having it right here on the screen. And then when I feel like it's almost done, I think I would start testing it on different devices. All right, so just to recap, we talked about basic UI UX principles. We talked about the ideal stages of app design. And then we talked about the Adobe XD software, which you can actually get from adobe.com, I believe. So like I said, that's free to download. Appy Pie is free up to a certain point. After you create your initial app and check it out, they're going to probably ask you to do a free trial. So if you want to, take that for a spin, don't feel like there has to be a huge barrier into app design. You just have to kind of test some things out and find out what works for you. So I think for me, that's basically it. Thank you, BeanPath. Thank you, everybody. So if you've got some questions, please make sure you put them in the chat box.
All right. I'd like to thank you, Natalie, for joining us for that awesome presentation about designing an app without using coding. I think you covered a lot of different things. If they have questions, they can definitely reach out to you. Do you want to share your email address on how they can reach you if they have more questions? Or are you available to still possibly do a one-on-one 20-minute appointment today? I know they can sign up for that on the BeanPath's website, but did you want to also share your email address or your contact information?
Yes, absolutely. So you can find me online at pixetal.com, but you can also find me anywhere on social as Pixetal, Pixetal Studio, Studio. And you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. It's all me, all here, all the time. This is actually my home office that we're in right now. No, you can't visit. And I am available for questions. I think there's still some appointment slots left. I have one at 2:10, but I think after that I'm open. So, please feel free, email me anytime. I love talking about this stuff.
Yes, the appointments will be going from 1:40 to 3:30 today. We do have a question. Natalie, hold on one second. Okay. Let me get that for you. The question was, how does e-commerce, I saw it a minute ago, but now I don't see it. Don't know what happened to that. Let me see. Okay, here it is. How do e-commerce links work with these services?
That is a good question. I'm not really sure, actually. So if you're in Adobe XD, external linking is not really a thing. So that would be more up to the developer to kind of integrate those things. So with Appy, from what I saw, anything you want to hook up to this, you're going to have existing accounts. So for example, if you wanted to make an app that worked with your Shopify account, you kind of have to have that already set up. There's not an option really in here to manage that I saw, like manage inventory. So that's something you kind of have to work on other third-party services.
Okay. Another question is, how do these things differ for iOS versus an Android?
Another good question that I probably don't know the answer to. I would say, the main difference I would say is like the different screen sizes. So designing for an Apple app and designing for an Android app, I think on my end, the main difference is sizes and how the app is actually displayed. As far as the coding side, I mean, obviously, these are no code, but as far as how we get it from this stage into like the App Store, I'm not really sure, but I would say the main thing is having different screen sizes. So especially if you're in Adobe XD, just kind of sit down and map those out for different screen sizes for different devices.
Okay. Well, I think those are all of our questions from our social media. Again, we want to thank everyone for tuning in. A few things before we go. One, again, thank you, Natalie, for taking time out to share that with us. A few things I'd like to share. If you have not had a chance to sign up for a one-on-one 20-minute appointments with our tech experts for today, you still have time. You can do that on our website at thebeanpath.org. Second, we have a scholarship, the BeanPath Sow and Seed Scholarship, and this scholarship is meant to assist with funding the educational advancement of high school seniors, primarily JPS high school seniors who just class of 2020 are eligible to apply for this scholarship. Deadline is this Monday. So you would definitely need to visit our website. That's thebeanpath.org/scholarships with an S, scholarships, for more information. Natalie, before you go, I did have one other question.
Okay.
Someone asks, how much time does it take to design a good UX?
That's a great question. So the lazy answer is it depends on how complicated your platform is. But I would say, for me personally, to design something that's really well thought out for like an average product, I would say it would take about 1 to 2 months. But again, it can really depend on how complicated the product is. The thing I would suggest is you really want to extend out that planning time because it's going to save you so much heartache in the end. So I think a well thought out app is better than, you know, throwing something that's kind of half done at the App Store. I know developers might disagree with me, but I think if you kind of, you know, dot your I's and cross your T's, I would give it a little while before you launch and just work out all the kinks. So take as long as you need to get that minimum viable product.
And that's some really great information about the time commitment. You know, a lot of people think they can rush through these and throw something out there, but it's always good to do the work on the front end. And like you said, save yourself some heartache.
Yes.
And wasted time on the back end. So thank you for that information. I think that wraps up all our questions. I did have a few announcements. I've mentioned the Bean Paths scholarship sowing seeds. I've also have mentioned, looks like we may have one more question. Let me see. I don't see it here in our Q&A. If it comes up, Natalie, I'll let you know.
I think I saw it.
I think I've already asked it. It was about the my last question about not the Android, but the one about the time commitment. So yeah, I think.
Okay. There's one that says, "How far can Appy take you before you need a developer?"
Ah, that's a good one.
It is a good one. I would say, you know, again, lazy answers. It really depends, but I think it's just from what I see. I think when you start hitting a ceiling of the custom options you need, I would say that's when you need a developer. Because Appy, there's only so much you can do. You basically have to work with the limits they give you. So when you start seeing, okay, I need custom features, I need custom options, that's when you're gonna need a developer. But if you need something pretty basic, like something that has basic functions and can work within these limitations, then you're good. But when you're shifting into a big product, say for, you know, a large corporation or something super custom, that's when you're gonna need a developer.
Okay, we have another question now. What about an e-commerce link from Facebook? Is that an option?
You know, I'll be honest, I'm not really sure. I would say, you know, I'm sure there are options out there. I don't know if Appy is one, but I would definitely, you know, do some homework on that and find out. I'm sure those things exist. I just don't know if Appy is the answer or not. You know, like I said, just kind of poking around through other options is just kind of get what you get with different platforms.
Okay. All right. I think that is all our questions. Again, I think that's all our questions again. We are trying to stay on time here, and I think we do have a little bit more time if we have any more questions. Back to the scholarships, the Bean Path Sowing Seed Scholarship. Again, the deadline is fast approaching, and we are wanting you to make sure that you are applying and sharing this information with those who may fit the qualifications to apply. You can find information again on our website at thebeanpath.org/scholarships with an S. Also, again, you can still sign up for our 101s. Those will be happening today from 1:40 till 3:30. You can sign up on our website for that, the 101 20-minute appointments. And then also we encourage you to visit and subscribe to the Bean Path's YouTube channel. There you can find all our previous feature workshops, and you can view those and see if there's anything that you may have missed. You can check those out. And then our last announcement before we go, this Appy Hour series will be continuing next month. In July, we are happy to have one of our own, another Jackson native, I guess I should say, is Fred Burns joining us, who is a tech startup founder, as well as a software engineer. He will be continuing the conversation and talking about App Development 101. And so we would love for you all to join us. Please visit our social media pages and our website for more information about Fred Burns and the work that he's doing and has done and to come, as well as our July Tech Office Hours, more information about that. we are signing out. At this moment, let me see if we have one more question. Okay, so I think we are signing out. Want to thank you so much again, Natalie, for joining us. If there not any more, is there anything else you want to say, Natalie?
No, I think that's it. If you ever have any questions about app design, please feel free to hit me up at Pixetal Studio or email me at natalie@pixetal.com.
All right. Well, thank you all for joining us again. We will be here again next month for our July Tech Office Hours with Fred Burns, who again is a tech startup founder as well as a software engineer. Don't forget about our scholarships that we have available. Well, we just have one last question to come in. Okay, I can't. All right. Would you suggest Appy for a location and photography app?
Location and photography. It seemed like they had some location abilities in there, as well as some gallery picture options. So I think I would definitely check it out and see if it fits. But don't be afraid to kind of shop around as well, just like with some of the other options, App Institute, MyoCube, I can't remember the name of the other one. But I would say, definitely check it out because it looked like there were some options for that. I was able to input multiple locations and have like some gallery options. So I would check that out and see, it might work for you.
All right. I think that may be our last question for the afternoon. Again, Natalie, thank you so much for joining us. And I know that the information that you presented will be one that will be helpful to a lot of our attendees today. And thank you for joining us.
All right. Thank you for having me.
All right. Y'all have a great afternoon. See you on Tech Office Hours 101s.